Okay, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're holding a strategic briefing specifically for enterprise leaders. Now, you already know the cloud is essential, but we're going to look at why your cloud architecture is no longer just an IT issue. It has literally escalated into a matter of geopolitical survival and operational independence. We'll be pulling insights from recent research, including reports from CRE and ISC2, to figure out exactly what this means for your board and your business.
Here's a quick look at how we'll break this down. We're covering 5 key areas today: the myth of neutrality, sovereignty versus economic competitiveness, the vendor lock-in trap, securing your operational independence, and finally, automating your exit strategy.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the myth of neutrality, and explore what happens when infrastructure becomes a risk vector. I want you to really think about this question for a second. What actually happens when your operational backbone is disabled overnight due to decisions made in other nations? And look, this isn't just a theoretical exercise or some doomsday hypothetical. Just recently, a company operating entirely outside the US completely lost access to its paid cloud services. Why? Simply because of a foreign policy decision it had absolutely no part in. A geopolitical shift happened, sanctions came down, and bam, their infrastructure was cut off just like that. So here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. The public cloud is a risk vector, not just infrastructure. We often assume these massive cloud platforms are politically neutral utilities, kind of like your electricity or your water. But global cloud providers operate under the influence of domestic and international laws, meaning your services can be disrupted based on foreign policy, not just a server going down. For the C-suite, this requires a massive shift in how you evaluate enterprise risk. That brings us to Section 2, sovereignty versus economic competitiveness. Let's zoom out to the macro level and examine the tightrope that's become known as the European dilemma. 80%. Wrap your head around that for a second. Roughly 80% of European corporate cloud spending flows directly to US hyperscalers. That single number quantifies a truly staggering unilateral dependency. When you are leaning that heavily on foreign tech, you're essentially outsourcing a massive chunk of your operational control. This really illustrates the depth of the problem. Non-EU companies control almost all the critical layers of the digital stack. Foreign firms hold the IP choke points essentially everywhere: operating systems, cloud platforms, right down to cybersecurity tools like firewalls and identity management. Whether it's B2C, B2B, or the public sector, foreign vendors are absolutely dominating, which leaves European businesses incredibly vulnerable to external shocks. And this creates what researchers call the European dilemma. You're caught right in the middle. On one side, you have this strong push for digital sovereignty, keeping data under local laws and maintaining security autonomy. But on the other side, the reality of economic competitiveness. To stay productive and scale rapidly, you desperately need access to the latest global tech, like advanced AI, which, let's be honest, currently lives mostly with those foreign providers. It is a really tough balancing act. Now, let's look at why this geographic discrepancy actually matters legally. It's all about jurisdictional dependency. If your cloud provider is headquartered outside the EU, your data can still be accessed under foreign laws, things like the US Cloud Act or the FISA Act. And this brings us to a really common misconception, the local storage myth. Listen, simply mandating that a US provider stores your data in a physical server somewhere in Europe, that does not grant you legal immunity from those extraterritorial requests. Let's move on to Section 3, the vendor lock-in trap, and dive into the actual mechanics of how this dependency gets cemented at the technical level. To really grasp lock-in, you need to understand data gravity. Think of it like a massive black hole for your information. As more and more of your data accumulates with one specific cloud vendor, the sheer mass of it makes it incredibly complicated, highly risky, and wildly expensive to pull that data out and move it somewhere else. You become totally anchored to a single provider, which obviously kills your agility. But it's not just the weight of the data holding you down. It's the very design of the systems. Lock-in is often a very intentional architecture. Vendors use proprietary APIs and closed systems that basically refuse to play nice with outside software. They use incompatible data formats that require tons of heavy transformation if you ever try to leave. Add in some highly restrictive licensing contracts and vendor-specific security setups, and you've got a recipe for severely limited flexibility. Switching providers becomes an absolute nightmare. And here is something else to watch out for. The consulting ecosystem can actually compound this issue. You might hire an external system integrator thinking they'll offer an objective way out, but a lot of times, those integrators have deep, lucrative partnerships with the exact major non-EU vendors you're worried about.
Because they're incentivized to push their partners, they can often steer you right back into those same locked-in proprietary ecosystems. So, what do we actually do about this? Let's get into Section 4, Securing Your Operational Independence, and talk about how your board can finally take back control. The big strategic shift we are seeing right now across the enterprise landscape is this. Sovereign and private clouds? They are no longer just niche technical setups for paranoid companies. They are completely mainstream risk management. To truly insulate your business from foreign political disruption, you've got to start moving your most critical, sensitive workloads to infrastructure that is strictly governed by local laws and run by domestic entities. Now, the smartest way to pull this off is through a hybrid cloud strategy. It's about getting the best of both worlds. You use the public cloud for your non-sensitive workloads that need raw computing power and massive scale. But then, you lock down your absolute core systems and your highly regulated data in a private or sovereign cloud. The golden rule here, though, you must prioritize open standards across the board. That is the only real way to ensure true cross-cloud portability and dodge that lock-in trap we just discussed. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Automating Your Exit Strategy. This is the modern mandate for any serious organization.
Did you know that regulators, like the European Banking Authority, now strictly mandate that you have a documented cloud exit strategy? But how you actually build that strategy is everything. Doing manual risk assessments of your cloud dependencies is painfully slow, very expensive, and frankly, completely outdated the minute you finish typing the report. Today, you need to leverage automated assessments. These give you cost-effective, continuous tracking that adapts to changes instantly, constantly hunting down hidden vendor dependencies across your network. So let's distill this into a clear action plan. Step 1, do not fall for the free egress traffic gimmick. Free data movement doesn't magically fix the underlying architectural lock-in. Step 2, get those automated assessment tools deployed so you have real-time visibility into your dependencies. And step 3, bring in specialized, truly independent experts whose only job is to architect cross-cloud portability so you know your systems can actually be moved if push comes to shove. I'll leave you with this one provocative thought to take back to your teams. If foreign policy shifted tomorrow, who actually controls your infrastructure? Take a hard look at your contracts this week, map out your architecture, and really ask yourself if you hold the keys to your own operational survival. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Start planning your independence today.